Today we venture into the deep, dark, and endlessly twisting halls of the labyrinth to find that perhaps the labyrinth really isn't all so deep, dark, and maze-like. Well, actually, the maze part of it may be true in the end, but seeing as world generation can have its way with the labby as well, it's honestly possible to have a completely safe path, heck, maybe even a straight shot to our ultimate destination. And no joke, I've had several labyrinths spawn with the Ancient Guardian Arena coming before the actual maze, meaning you're greeted by a face full of big bad upon entering the biome instead of the usual dangers. But what are the original dangers here? Well, that would be the dangling creepy crawlies, as they are in high numbers around these parts, as their webbing can be found at every twist and turn, it seems. Now, this might seem rather difficult, annoying, or both, seeing as we need to navigate in this place, but there's a solution so simple, it's laughable. And it's as simple as remaining on the sides of the hallways and webbing when running about. It doesn't matter how large or how many separate spawns there actually are. And really, you don't even need to be as overly cautious as Beardo here. Stick to the sides to not get all sticked up yourself. But the danglers ain't the only trouble down here, as you may run into some old ruin friends that need some dismantling. There really won't be too many clockworks around, but your world is different from the next, so who's to say that there won't be more in yours than there was in mine? Just grab the extra loot and continue regardless. Oh, but you may also run into some broken clockworks as well, but that's even less of a possibility. Either way, you can always just do a smash and grab. However, the real loot could happen to come from these ornate chests. Found only in the labyrinth, the loot table for these guys is certainly not one to just ignore. So I do highly recommend running around and giving them a shot if you find them, and opening just as many as you can. But why do I say giving them a shot? Well, that's because you need to be careful, because upon opening ornate chests, you may trigger a set of random effects, ranging from spawning some enemies, actually impacting your various stats positively or negatively, or even decreasing the durability of your items in your inventory. Your characters will always react to an ornate chest being trapped, but keep an eye open as to what effect actually occurred. But enough of that. We ain't here for trinkets and baubles, for Pete's sake. We're here for this big bad. The Ancient Guardian. Found only in the labyrinth, he is a massive, living version of a clockwork rook, and plays an integral part in our quest to seal away the darkness that plagues the ruins. Sitting at 10,000 health, he is certainly up there on the list of beefier bosses in the game. But it's that damage you should be concerned about. At 100 damage per hit, the Guardian is one of the hardest hitting mobs in the entire game. And that, coupled with his speed and charging ability, he may prove to be a worthy adversary. Well, that is if you don't know what you're doing, as you can see, I kinda have him where I want him, so to speak. But, are we still gonna need anything for the fight? Well, yeah, but really not much, to be honest. I will say that if you are clearing the ruins and planning on fighting the Guardian, then yeah, bring more than you would if you just plan on facing him mano-a-mano at some point. But a good set of armor, a bit of healing, and your lovely and hard meat will suit you fine. That being said, perhaps going and doing some ancient pseudosciencing beforehand could come in handy when it comes to light and potential speed increases. For you see, speed is your friend in this fight. You'll need to be dodging far more than fighting, to be honest, as you'll bait his charge, move away, and hopefully verge back to where he stops in order to get 2 hits in yourself before you are running and dodging all over again. And you'll do it over and over and over. It's really tedious. And not overly easy, to be honest, unless you have some other speed boost to aid you with getting consistent hits in. But I do suggest that you whip out some crackers now, as I'm about to bring the cheese. Heck, you saw it earlier, the Guardian just loves getting stuck on things. Graves can be your best friends if that's the case, but they don't always spawn nearby. But if they do, you can get them charging between them like this, rendering completely vulnerable and just useless while you meet him to death with no worry whatsoever. However, most will tell you to find a grave near the edge of the map and get him stuck there instead. And although this method is 100% viable and works perfectly, you may very well end up with his drop loot at the bottom of the abyss, never to be claimed again. This happens super often with this method, so it's up to you whether or not it's worth doing in the end. But another, almost always available method for taking down the beast requires you to hide behind the ancient pillars as the Guardian tries to run your face down. Same concept, different means, and hot damn, this be some good tasting cheese. But who says you need to do it all yourself? Grab some rocky friends and you'll find that the ancient Guardian doesn't stand a chance as they corner him themselves, negate his high damage by curling up, and just go about dealing out the damage too. Heck man, they'll kill him without you even lifting a finger, so just sit back and relax. And when the business is done, you'll be vastly rewarded from a larger version of those ornate chests we mentioned earlier. The loot table for them, though, is far more juicy. The larger variants also reward substantially more than the smaller ones, too, meaning a higher chance at some higher class loot. You will also receive about 3 to 6 items at random each time a chest is opened, so just pray to the 7 for them good rolls. But what is this ancient key that came with the defeat of the ancient Guardian? Does it do anything, or is it just some worthless hunk of junk? Well, allow me to show you something, and then you could probably decide for yourself. Yup, the key is very much worth it. But let's touch on a mechanic of the Thule Sight Medallion rather quickly, yes? While the medallion is in your inventory, it will show the location of the key, no matter if you or another player left it at an entrance to the caves, if one of you felt so high and mighty and left it amongst the yummy mush trees, or if you're a demon and you left it lying around the banana-munching, poop-flinging minions of yours. Just know, you'll never lose the key if you have a medallion. But here's something you shouldn't lose either, folks. The Ancient Guardian's Horn. Yes, it is a food item even though it doesn't appear to be, which is very similar to that deer clop eyeball of ours. It can be accidentally eaten by the player if they misclick, and trust me, that happens more often than you think. And pigs and spiders will eat it off the ground too, so you best be very careful with it, or you're in trouble, if you were planning on using it for crafting, that is. But then what does it craft into exactly? Well, that would be those houndiest shootiuses I mentioned the other day. And as you can see, it is a rather expensive thing to be crafting, as it requires a deer clop's eyeball on top of some Thule sight and our Guardian Horn. So, is it worth it? Well, most will likely just build one to aid them in countering hounds, probably during the hound wave. But even though the 1000 health and 12 health per second regen is amazing, the attack speed of the houndiest shootiest can cause it to be too overwhelmed at times. It is why either helping it yourself or just creating more is the way to make them more viable. But then again, each one means a Guardian and Clop kill, and that may just be asking a bit too much. But hey, they really can work well against some big bats, as 65 damage each is potentially more than what you're dealing for Pete's sake. But who is really going to go through the trouble of making and setting things up all over the place wherever you need them? Houndius, Shootiuses are kinda just gimmicks, to be honest. But there you have it, everyone. A guide on the ancient Guardian, where he resides, the loot his death brings, and the future that comes from it all. The Guardian's death is a huge step forward towards our ultimate goal, and soon the darkness will fade from these intrepid and nightmarish ruins of old. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope this helped, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.